What's up, hackers? Welcome to TTI Live. My name is Taggart. Hello, friends. It's been quite a while, and we'll see if I remember how to do this. I'm in a new location, got some new, equipment. If the lighting looks weird, that would be why. If the camera angle looks weird, that would be why. And yeah, but I finally got a chance to stream, and I didn't want to lose it. I missed all of you, and I wanted to jump back in. Yeah, good to see everybody. The microphone sounds different? Okay. The microphone is actually one of the things that's actually the same, but it's in a different space, so maybe you're getting some of that. I do have a ridiculous filter for it if I need it, but hopefully it is tolerable for you. It could also just be me, because I'm still a little under the weather from being sick for like an entire month. Oh boy, Yanner, Brumbo, good to see all of you. Wow, it's so funny to see some folks from the Discord come on in. All right, so what are we doing tonight? This is like one of the latest streams I've ever done. This is like TTI Live After Dark. It's the same microphone, Yanner. It's been the same microphone for like 3 years. Whatever. So tonight, what are we doing? I have gotten obsessed with the atomic desktops from Fedora, and in particular with Fedora Kinoite. Why? Okay, the base part of it is that I'm getting worried about Ubuntu, which might seem a little bit strange to you. Like, why? What is wrong with Ubuntu? It's snaps. And here, snaps have become this unavoidable part of Ubuntu. And what they are, they're containerized applications, and y'all know I love containers. We have a new course, by the way, Container Essentials. But the way that snaps work is so proprietary, so closed source, and so single sourced, right? You can only distribute them from Snapcraft, owned by Canonical, that it becomes really problematic for me. And what's more is, as you move into Ubuntu Core, which is Ubuntu's immutable version of itself, everything is a snap, including stuff that really shouldn't be a snap, like C libraries. Right, so like you can't get at them in reasonable ways, and the pathing for them is in places that a lot of things won't expect. Like you won't have the snap paths in a lot of things, and so applications fail if they're not configured specifically to work in those systems. It's like you're all snap or nothing. So that's one reason. But that's not all. I'm excited by the flexibility afforded by immutable OSs. And when we talk about immutable OSs, I did a stream on them a while ago. We looked at 3. We looked at Fedora Silverblue, which this kind of is. We looked at Vanilla OS, and we looked at NixOS. I've since gone down the rabbit hole on NixOS to see like what the whole deal is. And I've done it so many times. I know GoPro has kind of gone down this rabbit hole with me. Every time I've done it, I get excited by the concept of like a single file that you put on a machine and hit go, and then it like configures itself, right? Self-deploying system. That sounds very exciting to me. But that is not immutability, right? And as GoPro says, I can't get past learning the next language. Yeah, my position, and not everybody shares this, but I shouldn't have to be a developer, particularly in an esoteric and kind of broken language, in order to run my own system. I don't like the Nix language, but beyond the Nix part of it, right, Nix's value proposition isn't actually immutability. As a matter of fact, it's far from it. The value proposition of NixOS, it turns out, is what they call reproducible builds. The idea is that you have some sort of trust that whatever you're building is what you expect to be building, and that you can reproduce it no matter what your deployment is, which is kind of true, but also kind of not, because if you dive into a lot of the Nix packages, first of all, they're about as reliable as stuff in the AUR, because it's just like somebody who put the Nix script up there, and then you're relying on them. And sometimes they're just like repackaging a deb. So it's not necessarily as reproducible as you think it is. But leaving all of that aside, the Nix configuration, especially if you want to get things done like normal, like, I don't know, installing Rust, ends up being super complicated. Like, all of a sudden you're down Nix flakes, then you use Home Manager, and then all of a sudden you're using overlays to get things working the way that you normally expect just to be in the Nix universe. And it's like, what is that worth? Okay, anyway, I'm going off on a tangent about why Nix is not for me. Nix is not for me, but immutable OSs as immutable OSs are pretty interesting to me. And the reason is that you have a core OS that is rock solid, right? That is the part that is actually root, and it rarely changes. And in fact, does require a reboot for change in the case of Silverblue and Kinoite. But because of that stability, what you use on top of it is as many containers as you like. And using that approach gets you a lot of interesting options that you maybe would have shied away from in the past. And in fact, Kinoite and Silverblue make certain tools first-class citizens in the OS to accommodate you. In particular, things called Distrobox or Toolbx that integrate full containers of OSs, whatever OS you like, inside of the environment as your user space. So that's what we're going to explore tonight, is can we build a hacking rig to do this stuff? And then finally, the last part is why a hacking rig. I'm like over it with Kali, and the last straw for me was the pip thing, where all the Debian-based distributions are moving away from you being able to use pip install. And like, that's fine, I get it. There's a reason for that. You don't want to have... Their position is that if you're going to install stuff as root in particular, but even not as root, like the packages you install should be installed by apt. And I get it, but I also like just don't live that life. Like, I don't, because I'm installing packages with cargo. I'm installing packages with go get sometimes, unless I can avoid it. I'm installing packages with Flatpak. I'm not living just by a single package manager, and I don't know if anybody really is after a certain point. So that position, while I understand it, doesn't feel particularly pragmatic, and especially if you're installing as many tools as you do as a security professional, like, it's just not... I've outgrown it, okay? I've outgrown it. So if I'm going to build something new, I would like to experiment with an OS that kind of can grow with me. So Silverblue or Kinoite feels like that thing. Fedora, Silverblue, and Kinoite are the same thing. It's just about what desktop environment it ships with, okay? Silverblue ships with GNOME. Kinoite, as the K might suggest, ships with Plasma. My wife is telling me that I am the problem, that my voice is not as low as usual, so I apologize for that. Again, that's because I think I'm missing some of the bass notes because I'm still under the weather. Guilherme Diaz, thank you so much. Good to see you. I recognize that name from Fetty. I can't stand Kali as a distro. Yeah, like I said, I've just kind of outgrown it. And so what would it take to build this thing, build a security-focused environment with Kinoite? To start, you should know... Oh, GoPro wants the ASMR voice. That's what he wants for TTI After Dark. Leon, good to see you. The first thing I should tell you is that I'm deploying this in the same hypervisor that I do with my Kali box, which is Hyper-V on my Windows machine for now. But the second that I have to do Windows 11, all of this is getting nuked, and I'm going to go all Linux. Hey, Chad. Good to see you. I'm going to go all Linux on the main streaming rig the second I have to install Windows 11, because, not just because of recall, but whatever comes next. I am not playing Microsoft's game anymore with that. That's just enough. So, I have installed Kinoite. I've kind of gotten over the initial part. It installs just like any other Linux distro, in particular Fedora distro, right, if you've ever done that installer. And I've set it up with ZFS, so I have that going for me too. But no, that's not true. Not ZFS, Btrfs, which means I have snapshot capabilities. So I have a lot of cool ways that I can play with the OS. And the only thing I want to tell you about its setup that is slightly tricky is, sort of like with Kali, you have to do some extra stuff to get the enhanced session going with Kinoite on Hyper-V. So you have to obviously install XRDP, and then you also have to make sure you install the Xorg like server because it doesn't ship by default because it uses Wayland, and then you have to install the X server Plasma integration for Kinoite. Once you have all that done and you set your enhanced session socket to HV socket, you're good. XRDP will work the way that you expect. And the reason you want all of that is so that you can have like clipboards and all of that good stuff. So let's bring it up. This is the Kinoite environment right now. It is completely brand spanking new. I've done nothing with this at all because I wanted to show you what it looks like to build one of these things. So right off the bat, let's see. Let's kick up a terminal. By default, I've got console, and it's in Bash. I haven't even installed Fish on this. This is as raw as it gets. You'll also notice that I'm in this different looking home directory, this var home MT Taggart, and that is because I'm in this part that is mutable as opposed to the immutable component of the OS. Yep. I use Hyper-V on this machine, Slow-Mo J. The courses that we release through TTI do VirtualBox for open source reasons, but PWST, the web app course, also walks you through how to set it up in Hyper-V, because if you're on a Windows machine, at least Windows Pro, you can hack it to do it Windows Home, but on Windows Pro at least, Hyper-V is a Type 1 hypervisor, so your performance is going to be better on that if you can use it. And while there are some funny gotchas with Hyper-V, I have gotten used to them, and then I tend to prefer it because of the performance benefits. Okay, so one of the first things that's kind of weird about Kinoite is installing stuff, like anything, which is because of that immutability. When you want to install packages to the root of the system, you're going to be doing it with a tool called rpm-ostree. And rpm-ostree is the manager essentially for your root. So if we do rpm-ostree and help, you can kind of see what it looks like. It will look a little bit like Git, sort of. Like Git plus Docker is a really good way of thinking about rpm-ostree and ostree, which is the technology it's based on. VDCN says VMware Workstation Pro is free. No, it's not. You have to sell your soul in order to use VMware stuff. Broadcom is evil by association. So is VMware. Given what they're doing to their customers, I have no interest in supporting, even by using free products, VMware. So what can you do with rpm-ostree? There's apply live, which is apply pending deployment changes to booted deployment, meaning, and that's kind of how we can take the stuff that's pending for the next reboot and bring it up into live. I'll show you how that works. Hey, GoPro, thanks for those gift subs to Brumbo. Appreciate that. And the other kind of cool thing that rpm-ostree lets you do with some additional tools, we'll get to this eventually, is you can make your system by itself a bootable OS image that you can then redistribute. Okay? So you could configure a machine however you like, then commit that, literally commit it as a bootable image that you can then load to another machine. How's that for reproducible? So, and that's for the root machine you can do that with. That's pretty cool. I haven't played all the way with that, but I know that it's an option. Now, obviously, that's going to be a several gigabyte image, but Yeah, it is exactly that. It's going to be exactly what Docker does, right? It works on my machine, but from boot. But we're going to do something pretty basic with it, which is install some stuff. So things that I know that I need. I need Vim. I have to have Vim. And I need Vim specifically with clipboard support. And I know that I want that at the root, right? If I have to edit something in sensitive, in protected paths, I want to be able to run sudo with Vim. So that's one of the things I know I have to install. So I'm going to do sudo rpm-ostree install, and then we're going to do Vim. Now the problem is, this is one challenge right off the bat, is you need to know the packages, right? So luckily Firefox comes as a Flatpak. It is a Flatpak out of the box. And so before we do anything else, before we have anything to run, there is no DNF in Kinoite root. So I can't search for packages with that, but I can go to Fedora packages, right? This thing better not be hanging. I gave it 6 cores. I can go to Fedora packages and search for stuff like Vim. And I believe it's Vim X11 that I really want. Why are these paginated like this? Just utterly useless. Okay. It's Vim X11. I know that it is. So it's going to be Vim X11 like this. Now, already that's like kind of annoying. I will show you how to solve that problem. It's not hard. It's just another step in it, but it's a step that you're going to have to take frequently with immutable OSs. So I'm going to install this thing. And while it's doing that, I am going to talk a little bit about how you would solve that exact problem with Kinoite. The tool that Kinoite ships with to solve that problem is called Toolbx without the third O. If you look for tool, but it's called Toolbx if you look for the package. So what Toolbx is it's a tool that allows you to integrate containerized environments directly into your OS. Like, it'll do complicated mounting and file sharing for you and allow you to integrate whatever distribution you want into your running OS. So if I do Toolbx list images, I don't have any. So I can do sudo Toolbx create. And I think not even sudo, just Toolbx create. And the default's going to be the Fedora Toolbx. And that is fine. That's exactly what I want. Now, we're not going to stay using Toolbx, but I want to show it to you first, and then we'll move to the actual tool we're going to use. Meanwhile, rpm-ostree is doing its thing. It takes forever, which is one reason you don't want to do it that often, right? You want to kind of figure out all the stuff you want to install at root once or twice, and then kind of like leave it alone and do most of what you do later in containerized environments with Toolbx or the other tool we're going to use. And then in order to fully update your system, you do have to reboot in order to boot to the new commit, basically, if you want to think about it that way. But the cool thing is that there's always a rollback, right? So if something went wrong, there's always the previous boot image available to you. And I don't just mean the previous kernel version. You're used to that, right? When you install a new version, you'll have a new kernel version, you'll have like previous versions in grub that you can still boot. No. I mean the entire previous version of your OS, like with different packages. So it's almost like it's snapshotting itself. Every time you run rpm-ostree install, it's creating like one back shot that you can go back to. No need to begin transaction. Yeah. So yeah, takes a second. Meanwhile, Toolbox went really fast. So now if I go to Toolbox enter, I will enter my Fedora environment that is writable, inside of which I have sudo and DNF, right? It even tells me that. It says use DNF in the usual manner. And for this reason, with Toolbox or the other option we're going to use, you can use any Linux distro you want. If there is a Docker image for it, you can use it. So if you want to use Ubuntu on Kinoite, you can. And in fact, on my laptop, that's what I've been doing for the last week and a half. I set up all of my hacking stuff in Ubuntu because I'm used to it. I'm comfortable with apt and everything, just to see if it works. You can 100% do that. But because of that funky thing with searching for packages that you might want at the root level, I'm going to challenge myself, at least, to set up this system using Fedora first. Like Fedora as the image, as well as the base. I haven't used Fedora for a long time, and I kind of want to get re-familiar with it. And then if it doesn't work, whatever, because the scripts that I write, I'll probably just like swap DNF for apt, and then we'll go back to Ubuntu. No big deal. In fact, if I really needed to, or if you want to, you could even use the Docker image of Kali, so that you could have the Kali repos available to you right away, right? So you wouldn't lose anything if you were switching from Kali. You would lose the desktop environment. It would look much better. Oh, speaking of which, there is one thing I really wanted to do, and let me get it right now. This is very important. This is probably the most important part. It's not dark mode. We already did that. But this is super important. And then, of course, we're taking advantage of the fact that I have shared copy paste. Or do I? Yeah, there it is. Let's go. Look familiar? All right. This is very silly, but it's actually kind of awesome. I just learned you could do this. I love KDE. It's so good. I don't know, like, after you use Plasma for a while... Yeah, always be branding. That's right. The TTI start button. Can the Toolbox containers communicate with each other or only when you're active inside them? That's an interesting question, Brumbo. So, Toolbox containers... I don't know, because Toolbox really is meant to run one at a time. But under the hood of Toolbox is Podman. Also under the hood of the other tool we're going to use, Distrobox, is Podman. And for sure, if you wanted to sort of network them together and like communicate between them, you could probably do that. The thing that would be funny about doing that, though, is the way that it mounts to your current file system. So I would really recommend only using one at a time. Okay. So, by the way, here I am in Toolbox, right? If I do DNF search vim, this should make sense for me. I might have to do DNF update, but this should make some kind of sense for me. Oh, right, it updates for you. There are some things that Fedora does by default that just, like, make a lot of sense to me. And I really wish that Ubuntu did. And so that's another reason I'm like, I want to see how the other half lives here. There it is, Vim X11, right? This is the one that I kind of knew I needed. And because I had played with that before. Also notice all the plugins that it has, just like as packages. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so check this out. We've added Vim X11. Now, if I try to run Vim right now, it won't work. But if I do sudo rpm-ostree apply live, it will kind of monkey patch that on so that I'll have it. Error packages would be changed. Allow replacement. Oh, what is that? Allow replacement. Yeah. Okay, that didn't work so well. I still don't have Vim. All right, so it really wants me to reboot for this change, and that's fine. If I look at sudo rpm-ostree, what is it, status? Yeah, it'll tell me that this is kind of where I'm at with my install. So like right now, yeah, the apply broke, but a reboot will solve that. But notice I've got these layered packages, right? Alacrity, Distrobox. These are the things that I've installed at root that I can then add. 418, yeah. I'm gonna ban a whole bunch of Twitch bots. Okay. So real quick, we're gonna just reboot this thing. With sudo system ctl reboot. No big deal. Down it comes, right? We'll let it kind of reboot, and we're just gonna look at the the Kinoite advertisement. Hey, did you know that there's a new version of my book out? Well, there is. And I should mention, this wasn't planned, but today is the last day to use code Almanac V250 to get V250. There you go. For 50% off. It's usually $19.99. It is half that if you buy it before the end of the day. So in some cases that might be a little too late, but for some of you, there's still a little bit of time. If you haven't picked up the book, honestly, I still think it's worth $20. It's been called to me. People have told me it is the best home lab for security resource they've ever seen, which is very nice of them to say. I think it's okay. But if you're interested in getting started with home labbing, from purchasing equipment all the way through creating security deployments, some of which you've seen on this stream, this is the book that you need to do. This is the book that you need to do that. It will show you how. It will walk you through the entire process. All right. Kinoite should be back up and running. Leon, if you haven't purchased it by now, I don't know what to tell you. All right, we're back in. This freaked me out the first time I saw that it's using XVNC instead of RDP. Yeah. I know you do. You also have like read access to the repo, so what the heck is XVNC indeed? That was my question. It, I believe, is part of the interoperability layer between Wayland and XRDP. But in order for it to work, you have to install the X server and the Plasma integration for X anyway. All right, so we're back in. And now, wait, what is it, Vimx? Yeah, it's Vimx. I now have Vim, although it's called Vimx for whatever reason. Now, why? There are like other Vim packages. Why am I being so annoying about using this one? Here's why. Right there. That is why. I want the clipboard option compiled. The basic Vim package doesn't have that, which is so annoying. And so going for... it's Vim GTK 3 in Ubuntu and Kali, but you want Vim X11 so you get the clipboard support. That is why we do that. All right. So now we've got Toolbox, but the other tool that's kind of useful is Distrobox, right? I'm actually going to use Toolbox to look for Distrobox, which is a little bit funny, but it will work. So we're going to enter Toolbox because we already created it before. You see, now I'm in Toolbox. And then I'm going to do DNF search Distrobox. What is the difference? Distrobox is a little bit more flexible, okay? Toolbox really works very well with specifically Fedora, and that's fine. But there are certain things that get weird with Toolbox, especially when it comes to dealing with networking stuff. And I found that Distrobox does that a little bit better. It gives you a couple of more options for handling it. Systemd as well, Toolbox does not do well with. Distrobox does okay. So for those reasons, Distrobox is another way that you can configure your system. So it says another tool for containerized command line environments on Linux, right? And so we are going to use, here we go. rpm-ostree. We'll do help just to make sure we have these commands correct. Apply live. Target provide commit, set pending deployment. Allow replacement. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to try this again. And we're just going to install Distrobox this time. Oh, dope. It's already there. Handy. I didn't realize that I already installed that. Distrobox. Yeah. Good job, me. I had already installed it. So what are the available commands? Assemble, create, enter, list. Okay, so if I do Distrobox list, right, I don't have anything. How do I get stuff? With Distrobox, it's just using basic containers. So one of the easiest ways to do it would be to podman image ls, right? And notice that I do have the Fedora Toolbox image. We pulled that one for Toolbox, not Distrobox. I don't have to use this. Okay? What I want is something like podman image pull. Remember that podman, you need to specify the registry, so docker.io/Fedora latest. Down comes the latest version of Docker or of Fedora from the Docker repo, and that allows me to use that for my Distrobox. So if I do Distrobox create, I want to run help on this because there's some really interesting options that you should know about. So Distrobox create, obviously there's image, give it name, and then there are a few other things you can do, like additional packages, meaning you can import some stuff from the root system. Okay, like git, tmux, vim. Those are some things that you might want to consider doing. Also systemd, if you want to do that, right? And then dash init will use an init system like systemd inside the container. That is something that I recommend you do in our case, because there's going to be a lot of stuff like, I don't know, Sliver that runs as a systemd service, and you're going to want to be able to use systemd that way. So we without further ado, let's generate our image. So we're gonna use the packages from your host or the host configuration inside the container. That is correct, Leon. So we're gonna do I have tmux? I do. Cool. So we're gonna do Distrobox create image. You're not gonna tab autocomplete for me, right? Fedora latest. And name Fedora. Fedora sec. Why not? For security. Sounds cooler. Init. And then additional packages. Additional packages. And then this is a string. So vim x11 tmux get, I think, but it probably is already in Fedora, and that'll work now for now. Like, why not? Okay, so we're creating that, and then all we have to do is Distrobox enter Fedora sec. And then we're going to install those basic packages. While that's happening, let's talk about the stuff that doesn't run directly inside of our mutable container, where most of our user space stuff is going to live. Or at least that's where I've been putting it, to keep the root file system clean. So what are some things that don't live there? Networking stuff, I think your mileage may vary. If I had been thinking, I would have added NMap to this, but we'll see how that goes. But the other thing that these immutable OSs make a lot of use of is Flatpak. So already you've seen one, whether you knew it or not. The Firefox setup was in fact Flatpak. So we're gonna go to FlatHub and learn how to set Flatpak up correctly, because there is definitely a wrong way to do it, and we don't want to do it the incorrect way. I have done so on my own system, like my laptop, and now I'm just like living with it. And I shouldn't. I should go back and fix it, but it's at flathub.org. You know, I could really do without Firefox showing me news by default. Okay. So, if you're unfamiliar with Flatpaks, they are a way of packaging Linux applications that sort of gets around the problems of deb versus RPM versus whatever you're doing on Gentoo or whatever, or the AUR. It gets around all of that. And it also gets around dependency confusion by doing what containers do, which is packaging all of the dependencies for the application with it. It also does this in layers. So for example, it'll have like a desktop layer, like a GNOME layer. And if multiple Flatpaks require that same version, then those Flatpaks can share those different layers, which is handy, but very infrequent, to be honest with you, because the way that different apps update, they tend to use different versions. So a lot of stuff is done in Flatpak in these environments, more than you might expect. The one that always blows me away that is a Flatpak is Cutter. Believe it or not, my preferred disassembler exists as a Flatpak, and it works perfectly. Now, when you do it, you want to install the Ghidra decompiler add-on as well. But other than that, like, it just works. It's really impressive. I'm a huge fan of Flatpak, to be honest with you. I wasn't so sure, but I've come around. I like using them because for one thing, they tend to update faster than distro package repositories. Oh, Zap also is a Flatpak, and I've been using it as a Flatpak for a while now, and it updates faster certainly than the Kali version does. Okay, so go back to the home page here, go to Setup FlatHub. This is the part that we need to do correctly. We'll use the Fedora example. This is correct, but there's one other part that it's missing. The Flatpak remote add, if not exists, FlatHub. I'm going to exit Toolbox here. Yes, so if you use a lot, browsers in particular have some weirdnesses with Flatpaks. Leon's absolutely correct. If you do things like YubiKeys, there are some additional things you want to do, but there's a tool for that called FlatSeal that helps manage Flatpak permissions, including to hardware. And if you're doing interesting stuff with Flatpaks, the other thing you want is FlatSeal. Yeah, because it solves those things for you. I learned about FlatSeal the other night, actually, because I was trying to set up Lutris to work with Steam as a Flatpak. And I was like, how do these two things talk to each other? The answer is FlatSeal. What was I doing? I was really hoping the logo would be a seal. I'm okay that it's not a flat seal. You know what I mean? A lot of ways that could have gone wrong. Oh, right. So if we do Flatpak, I want to do what? Flatpak remote add and help. Let's get the help for that subcommand. Yeah, here's the deal. You always want to add -u to this stuff in Silverblue or Kinoite, Atomic Linux, because everything that you want to be doing with Flatpaks, you really want to be doing as the user. Like, the only thing really that you want to be doing is sudo rpm-ostree and sometimes editing stuff in Etsy with a text editor. Other than that, you're really not going into stuff that's root controlled in Atomic Linux, and that's by design, right? Yeah. So in this case, that command that we got, right, we're going to do Flatpak remote add, but we're going to do -u for FlatHub, right? And now we can do stuff like Flatpak -u search ZA proxy. And this is the part, again, that lives outside of Distrobox or Toolbox, right? Because the Flatpaks are going to be in the home directory, in your user space, a different way. Now, they work well together, and in fact, you can get Flatpak stuff to play with what's going on in Distrobox, because when the Distrobox or Toolbox is running, it's mounted into your home directory, okay? So it's like sharing that space. So like, if you're in Distrobox and you make a folder to save your ZA proxy stuff, like ZA proxy can see it. They work together okay. All right, so obviously this is what we're trying to install. So we're going to do Flatpak -u install ZA proxy. Yes, that looks good. Here are the layers I was talking about, right? It's going to be using these parts of the free desktop stuff in order to do its thing, including GTK3 and everything else. I particularly love doing this with ZA proxy because you know what Flatpak gets me around for Zap in particular, and this would be true for Burp too, if Burp had a Flatpak. I don't think it does. Java version problems. I don't have to worry about it because it's part of the Flatpak, right? Doesn't matter what JVM I have kicking around on my system because that's not what the Flatpak is using. I know somebody's going to tell me I should give Kaido another shot, and I will. But I don't know, man. The create an account to use it thing really just rubs me the wrong way. I didn't like it when Insomnia added that to their tool, and I'm glad they got rid of it. How's our Distrobox? Taking its sweet time. That is fine, because Flatpak is doing its thing. And so now we can start asking the questions like, what do we want to configure for a security machine, right? What are the things that we care about in our environment? And so far, it's definitely going to be stuff like Zap for me, web app stuff. I'm going to want my disassembler. That's a Flatpak. I'm going to probably eventually want some forensics tools as well. But that also means I'm probably going to want Python. And Python is one of those things that's a little bit tricky, right? Because of that problem we already established with pip. And I will tell you that the solution that I've arrived at for that is with by using pyenv. That's the only way I install Python anymore, is with pyenv. Because then I can have multiple Python versions kicking around. I can use whatever I need to for a specific project. And it's all just sort of self-contained, and it's all in user space, so I don't need to worry about it at all. Come on, Distrobox. You can do it. So pipx Leon is great, but it comes after pyenv. Because what pyenv does is installs the version of Python that pipx will eventually use, right? And so it's like one layer above. And when you do the pyenv installation, you are literally compiling Python. That is what it does. And so if you go to the pyenv instructions, it'll tell you like you need build essential or whatever else. You'll need GCC and all this stuff in order to compile it, including development like headers for things like SQLite and a few others. Because if you don't have those Python modules won't compile, and you'll get freaked out later when it's like no module SQLite found. Time for a swig from my cartoonishly large water bottle. I got this thing to motivate me to hydrate more, and it works. Hey, Prax. But it is very funny to do when you're on camera. Like if I'm in a meeting or something, I'm just like this should have Klingon blood wine in it or something. Bigger than my head. It is. It is. It's 64 ounces, but it's heavily insulated. It also has this thing I'll never use ever, which is this like hook to put on chain link fence for all the time I spend on the court. Okay, so ZA proxy has been installed. It's already, thanks to Flatpak being Flatpak, going to be available to me through my application search menu, right? And I can pin that right to my task manager. Easy peasy. That's true, GoPro. I can put that on my daughter's ball games, but not for her. This is mine. No, oh, GoPro, please don't do that. I was saying to Orbital earlier, I still haven't totally figured out how to do the piano in this space. I actually have, the piano's up, I think. Let me unmute it. Yeah, the piano's up, but it's not even the soundproofing. It's literally just like positioning. The piano's right here, and so is the green screen. So I'm trying to like figure out how to do that. Prax, I will recite a poem for a Play Me a Song. I will do that. Hey, Taya. Thank you, by the way, for the follow. I saw that you were the latest follow. What is the name of this distro that's better than Kali? It's not better than. It's just an alternative, and it's something that I'm exploring, right? We don't do better than most of the time around here, except between Rust and Go. There's definitely... You want all of Ozymandias? Okay. My wife is co-signing the Ozymandias request, so... No, I'm a Shelly fan. It's short, too. Alright. Percy Bysshe Shelley. Gotta love the romantics. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive. Stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." There you go. Just so you know, it was going to be Poe if that request had not come in. I was gonna do the bells because I used to do that for extemp or for recitation. The Raven is cool. The bells is crazy. If you've never read the bells, do it. It's basically a rap. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary. I have to tell this story I always have to tell about the Raven, which is the best prank I ever pulled as an educator. On Halloween, one year, I made every laptop that students had in the school download the Sir Christopher Lee recitation of the Raven and play it without option. Like, they couldn't turn it off even if they closed the lids, all at one time. No, Cask of Amontillado is amazing. Telltale Heart, Poe is great. Poe is just great. Okay. I saw a really funny Mastodon post the other day that was like, Cask of Amontillado ruined bringing your nemesis down to your wine cellar to innocently show them something for everybody. If you've never read Poe's Philosophy of Composition, it answers a lot of questions. It's because he was so strategic. He was like so mercenary about what he was doing. Jesus, Distrobox. Okay, finally done. Okay, Distrobox. We now have sudo, we have user lists, we have a init system, and we're inside of this nice little container. Distrobox, look at that. So nice. Now, if I look at where I am, I'm still in var home. Right, but I'm in this different environment where I have DNF, right? I can do stuff in this environment. At long last, I have these things. So what am I going to do with it? I'm going to go, first of all, I'm going to make a new directory called tools, and I'm going to put GoPro in it. No, just kidding. But I do want to demonstrate that this thing exists, right? There it is. What do we need? I have a bunch of infrastructure already for setting up systems the way that I want, right? We do not need Go. But so I have these things, right? And I can just use git. I can do git clone github.com empty-tired / shell setup to get started, right? Python 2, that's covered by the containers course. We know how to do that. Okay, so let's take a look. Max. Dope. Okay. I will be aliasing that shortly, but for now, the Max setup.sh. So you can see I've got some apt stuff in here that I may want to mess with, right? So for example, I'm just going to straight up replace apt with DNF everywhere I see it. But also, I don't need all of these. We need Node.js. We may. Actually, we will. You're not wrong about that, Justin. But for now, this is pointless because all of these packages are going to be different names, right? So I'm going to kind of leave this off. And the easiest way for me to leave this off, I should have done this repo shell setup. So if you want to do this in Ubuntu, you can just do this. Wait, is Nightbot not working anymore? No, I have it set up. I don't know why it's not working. You just have to wake up? That's annoying. Oh well. Here, I'll just link it for you. There you go. So, things that we'll need. We don't really need to do this. I think, did I already install Alacrity? I did. So, Alacrity, I don't like installing terminals inside containers because, even though you can actually export, with Distrobox, you can export stuff you installed in the container back out to the non-container system. It's weird, and you don't have to do that. So, I've installed Alacrity outside. So I just have it. And so there's parts of this that you're going to want to do in the primary setup as well. And we'll talk about how that works. So for example, the wacky customizations I do to the shell definitely are things that you want to do in both places if you want to share them. Because remember, the Distrobox container shares the user space, right? So it shares the config files, the dot files are going to be the same between the non-containerized part of your user space and the containerized part. I do have fish installed, right? But I don't have it as my default shell, which I can. I'll do that right now. User bin fish, right? So that'll be done the next time I reboot. That's no problem. But all of my fun stuff hasn't been set up there. So I would have to run Starship setup in both places, basically. Or I would have had to export it or import it into the container. So we're going to do most of this though. And the way I wrote this script is I can easily comment out the parts that I don't need. So I'm not doing the install packages. I'm not installing Alacrity. I am installing Starship. Nerd font, little bit funky actually. I do need that eventually, but I think I have to do it a different way, basically, because the way this works just won't. annoyingly, because the way the nerd font is installed, I don't think I can do the FC cache there. We'll try it, but I'm not so sure. Okay. Fish, Starship, Vim, Tmux, Terminator, NeoVim. I want all of these. Yes, I do. And so I think that's good. We will run setup.sh. I actually want to do it in here first. I want to do it in the main user space. So we're going to install Starship. The nerd font goes. There's the font config error that I knew was going to happen, which is fine. We can fix that later. Yes, we're going to install we did Tmux. Install NeoVim, yes. Cool. Let's see what worked. So for the font config, that part I knew was going to fail. The Vim setup worked. For sure it did. Let's do plug install to install our Vim plugins. That worked great. I don't use some of these anymore. Like, I haven't used the NIM one in a while, but they're part of my VimRC. Oh, yeah. All right, Vim is working the way that I would expect Vim to work. Lovely. And that wasn't too hard at all. Now, Nightbot! How do I get this to be fixed? Should I log out and log back in? Maybe that'll do it. Oh, there we go. There we go. What are the benefits of Distrobox? So when we're using Atomic Linux like this, the root is meant to be very, very stable. You don't install a bunch of stuff there. Instead, with Distrobox, you have as many laboratories as you like. And that's one of the things, like we're setting up a hacking situation here. That's why we do FedoraSec, right? But if I wanted one that was based on Ubuntu, I could have one that was based on Ubuntu in addition to the one that's based on Fedora. If I wanted one that was dedicated to Python development, I could have one just dedicated to Python development and isolate all of my tools for that right there, right? I can have different sandboxes to play in without messing with my root system. That's one of the huge advantages of Distrobox, where I can isolate those things the way that I want, and not have those concerns mix. And the ability to flip between different Linux distributions is also pretty powerful. So we're going to play in Fedora as much as we can, but we also have those other options, right? Including Arch if you wanted to, or going back to Kali. Install Starship latest use local bin. Okay, so now that font config thing is a little bit funny. because I think I know how we need to fix it. Basically what we're going to do is, let's fire up Tmux actually real quick. Curious if this works. Stop telling me to use a tool that is in closed beta. GoPro. You talk about Ghost TTY all the time, but it's like, I can't. I don't use tools that other people can't get. I do not like doing that. You just need to join the Discord. That's making me want to do it less. Alright, Tmux didn't play ball. Doesn't seem like. Let's Vimx the setup.sh. Wait, where else am I editing this? Ah, right, here. In Alacrity. I totally, like, I have no problem with people's rationale for doing closed source stuff. That's not the issue. The issue is that the tooling that I put together, people try to use at the same time, right? And so what I end up using, I feel pretty strongly has to be accessible to everybody. That's the reason. All right. There's that clipboard integration. Okay. This is VM. It's running on Hyper-V. Okay, check this out. So this is how I figured out you can fix the font thing. So I'm making a new folder for this font, right? And then I'm gonna copy all of these. And by the way, why are we going to this trouble? There is a reason. That's not an option. I think I have to close these. Yeah. The reason is not just to share the... Actually, the sharing of the fonts with the containers is not a concern, because the containers are going to be doing very little in the GUI. The reason is for the fun characters that come in with my shell setup. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother installing additional fonts. There's the built-in create new profile. Let's profile 1. Fish. The command is user bin fish. And the appearance. We actually have, there's a way to get the Dracula theme for this. Believe it or not. Thank you, KDE. For console, if you want to go that far. And then, most importantly, our font is going to be Source Code Pro. Hey, look, there it is. Make it 11. Okay, apply. Wonderful. And as you can see, all of the special characters are working for the shell setup with Starship right away. And this is, by the way, not in the container. So it is just working. Now, let's do this. Let's do Toolbox enter. Not Toolbox, dang it. Exit. Distrobox. Fedora sec. And then fish. Right? So I have to install fish here. So sudo dnf install fish. See what I mean about those? Like, if you know what you need, you should import it first. This is like not a problem because fish will work in either place, but it also says, notice, like Starship is broken because Starship isn't installed. So now, if I do this, I would want to essentially turn all of the rest of this off. Oh, I almost messed myself up pretty bad. So I want to configure all of the configures, make dot files that will be shared between both machines. So I'm not worried about that, but I am going to install NeoVim. Okay. Now, by setup.sh, yes. Install NeoVim, definitely yes. Good night, HB. Thanks so much for hanging out. All right, NeoVim was already there, so that's good. Now if I run fish... Okay, so this is a problem, but why? It's because I haven't closed Alacrity and brought it back up. So I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to pin Alacrity to the task manager. Exit out of this. Bring Alacrity back up. And now, if I do, first of all, Distrobox, enter, Fedora sec. And then I do fish. My characters work, right? Now it's slightly different coloring. Now one thing I don't know is why Tmux did not play ball. Because this should have just worked. Yeah. Yeah, Toolbx.conf is there. I'm not sure why I can't get Control B plus I to work for Tmux. That is confusing. You have to install the plugins inside the Tmux version of the container. I mean, I don't think that matters. It's because it's all going to be in the home directory. But maybe. Here, I'll try it outside. It ain't installing outside either, which is kind of funny, right? Tmux.conf is in the same place. It's in the home folder. Yeah, that's just bizarre. There it is. That's so funny. I don't know why I had to do that. Okay, so I ran source file in Tmux and now it's fine. All right. Neat. Speaking of keys, though, one other thing I'm going to do just to set up my environment. This is something that I need to find the actual config for, because it's super important to me, is keyboard customizations. So, advanced. First of all, the caps lock is not going to be a caps lock. It is an additional escape, which is really nice when you're using Vim. What else? Prax, another song. All right, this time you'll get the bells. Give me a second. And the other thing is the compose key, which if you're not using the compose key, I don't know what to tell you. Where's my compose key? Oh man, hey, Hack Smarter. Thanks so much for the raid. Position of compose key. Here we go. So the compose key, I'm going to do the menu. It should just be menu, like this. Thank you so much. How was your stream? Good to see everybody. We're setting up a hacking machine using Fedora Kinoite. The immutable OS. So the compose key is kind of awesome because that allows me to do, apply. That allows me to do things like not equals characters and things like that, or umlaut characters, as we may need. All right, so if I do like my keyboard, did it not apply? That's annoying. All right, we'll do that another time. That doesn't matter so much. In terms of setup, let's see. So we've got Zap. We have a browser. We have Vim set up. Do we have NeoVim set up? Yeah, that definitely did take. There you go, lazy Vim. Go do your thing. Why do I have Vim and NeoVim? Both. Both with their own configs. Why would a sane person do that? Answer. NeoVim is very heavy. Make command not found, right? So we'll have to install that inside of Distrobox. Those are the sorts of things that you need to install, like GCC, in order to get this to work, right? Yeah, see, no compiler found. So those are the sorts of things that you would expect. I don't know if there's a build essentials for Fedora, but if there is, that's what you would do. What? What? Oh, because I'm not in Distrobox. There we go. Fish. And now we're good. So now, see you, Leon. Now we'll do sudo dnf install and make GCC. There we go. Mini Wheat. Thank you so much for that raid. The Miss Portal sound. Yeah, it's so good. Hey, hey. It's 6 people. Thank you so much. And how was your stream? Sorry, I'm still a bit under the weather. Yeah, so I was asking and answering the question before, why would I have Vim and NeoVim at the same time? The answer is that NeoVim is really heavy, and Vim is not. So for a lot of things, NeoVim is what I want. It's a much more holistic development environment. A lot of autocomplete, like I can do Rust stuff in there if I want to. I don't usually, but I can. And then I've got Vim for when I want to do like light config editing. But I still have my niceties like theming and things like that in there. So I think both have a place. You went on a retired endgame, unhacked the box, bashed my head against the wall, got gassed up by Active Directory sync. Fun. Boy, I haven't done a red team box on stream in a year more. The other option for tonight was going to be doing forensics with Velociraptor on a Try Hack Me box I found, which is kind of funny. And by the way, totally cheating, because they tell you, they give you like the Eric Zimmerman tools to go work the box. And I was like, but what if I loaded Velociraptor on this instead and used that because it's faster? Maybe next time. All right. So we've got our shell set up mostly. We have ZA proxy installed. We've got a browser. Not much of one, but we've got a browser. And then what else would we want? Oh, right. How about a C2? So let's talk about that. I'm in Toolbx, right? So, I'm in Distrobox. I keep saying Toolbox. I'm in Distrobox, right? Hey, noob. It'll wait. So I'm in Distrobox, right? So, that's where I would want Sliver to live, right? And I've got systemd. So basically, all I would need to do, if everything is set up correctly, is go over to sliver.sh and go get that install script and run it. And if all is going to plan, then we should be good. Yeah. Because it's literally just like curl... I should have... It will install stuff, so... I've never done this on Fedora, so I'm super interested. I haven't done Almanac yet. Sorry. Thank you. Yes, I wrote a book about making home labs, and if you want it, you can get it. Is it seriously not going to give me the curl command to install this thing? It's on the GitHub repo, it'll tell me, right? That's it. That's what we want. All right. Let's fire that off. Okay, so it's using yum, which is weird, instead of DNF, but whatever. Man, I'm already liking being back on Fedora. Like, a lot more than being on Ubuntu. Something is feeling just snappier about it for me. Dunno about y'all. Oh yeah, also, did Rust install? No, it didn't. Okay, so that's another thing when you gotta install Rust. That's a super important part of my process. Your standard Linux distro is Ubuntu. My daily driver is KDE Neon, which is Ubuntu 22.04 under the hood, but I'm liking this so much that I am strongly considering switching it all over. For my home daily driver too, because it just has so much flexibility and stability. I'll tell you one thing I despise about KDE Neon is the update process. I really hate it. The pkcon thing that subverts apt update is apt upgrade is so weird. I do not like that at all. But this doesn't have that problem. Okay, so systemctl status Sliver. Sliver service could not be found. Enable Sliver? Ooh, okay, so what just happened? Let's see. Oh, wrong thing. I'm over here. So let's see what happened here. Fetching the latest Sliver release. Everything's good. Unpacking Sliver. Creating symbolic link for Sliver client. Configuring systemd service. Starting the Sliver service. This is not in Distrobox. So I'm going to have to be a little bit disciplined about that. With Alacrity, I'm going to have to set it up to like immediately kick off Distrobox. As opposed to, and that's how I want to split that up. So Alacrity will be Distrobox stuff and console will be root system. That's kind of how I figured out how to distinguish between where I am, is the different terminal emulators. So here, if I do sudo systemctl status Sliver, that's what's up. That's why we did the dash and init when we created Distrobox, so that we could do this and other stuff that relies on systemd. This also means then I'm going to make a new directory called payloads. And then I'm going to rename this to C2. And yeah, I'm going to run Sliver. We have a C2 ready to go in our environment. Not in Kali, right? We've got this. We're running it not in Kali. Very cool. Poem request. Fra Lippo Lippi by Browning. Ew, man. I told you what I was going to do for the second one. Jeez, this is so long. I'm not doing that. Come on, man. That's not cool. But yes, normally on stream, we have a piano option. I will play you a song, but because, first of all, I don't have my singing voice back, and also, I'm still figuring out how to do the piano stuff here, I will do a poem for you instead. Right after this sip of water. From the cartoonishly large... This thing needs a name, right? The flagon or something. Oh, from the Poem Museum website. Let's go. Oh boy. Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells. How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight. Keeping time, time, time in a sort of runic rhyme to the tintinnabulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells. Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight from the molten golden notes and all in tune. What a liquid ditty floats to the turtle dove that listens while she gloats on the moon. Oh, from out the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony voluminously wells, how it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, 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 to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells. Hear the loud alarum bells, brazen bells. What a tale of terror now their turbulency tells. In the startled ear of night, how they scream out their affright. Too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek, shriek out of tune. In a clamorous appealing to the mercy of the fire. In a mad expostulation with the deaf and frantic fire. Leaping higher, 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 with a desperate desire. And a resolute endeavor now to sit or never by the side of the pale-faced moon. Oh, the bells, 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 what a tale their terror tells. Of despair, how they clang and clash and roar. What a horror they outpour on the bosom of the palpitating air. Yet the ear it fully knows by the twanging and the clanging how the danger ebbs and flows. Yes, yes, the ear distinctly tells, in the jangling and the wrangling, how the danger sinks and swells by the sinking or the swelling in the anger of the bells, of the bells, of the bells, 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 in the clamor and the clangor of the bells. All right, I'm calling... Oh, we got one more verse. Hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their monody compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright, the melancholy malice of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan, and the people, all the people that they dwell up in the steeple, all alone, and who tolling, tolling, tolling in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart of stone. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human, they are ghouls, and their king it is who tolls, as he rolls, 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 a paean from the bells, with his merry bosom swells, with the paean of the bells, as he dances and he yells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the paean of the bells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the throbbing of the bells, 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 to the sobbing of the bells. Keeping time, 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 as he knells, 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 in a happy runic rhyme, to the tolling of the bells, 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 to the tolling of the bells, 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 to the moaning and the groaning of the bells. Yes, I've heard of the Mulix poem from the Adventures of Tom Bombadil. All right. So we've got a C2. Let's see. What else? Like I said, we need cargo. We need rust. So... Exit. Oh, I am in here. So if I do tmux fish. Okay. So now I'm going to do rust up. Good night, Prax. Thanks so much for hanging out. So we're going to install Rust. normal stuff. And the reason we want to do this is because a lot of the tooling that I use, like Rust Scan, is going to be in Rust. And of course, my own tools are all written in Rust these days, so kind of a big deal to have this available. Now, the trick is networking. All right, so cargo works. That's all set. Not too worried about that. But now we would have to do stuff like cargo install Rust Scan, which would be a standard scanning tool. Now, this is going to fail, I'm pretty sure, because it's missing a package or two that it needs for building. And then we'll fix that as we go. Yep, there it is. All right, we don't have CC. So we would do sudo dnf install cc. Right? Might not in Fedora sec. It's so annoying. I gotta figure that out. I swore that I was. Hold on a second. I'm killing Alacrity and then... Okay, so now I'm in... Sorry, I've got Rust. Why do I not have... What is happening here? Weird. I remember figuring this out, and then I can't remember how we did it. It's like... It's like GCC C++, right, is what it needs. Because, like, maybe there is, and I just don't know about it. A build essential equivalent for Fedora. Thank you. What is the Fedora equivalent of the build essential? There you go. Make, automake, GCC, GCC, C++. See, I wasn't crazy. And then kernel devel, which we don't need. Let me kill this, actually, and install GCC C++, because I do believe that we need that package for building some stuff. All right, apparently it's already in. So, all right, we're going through that. Let's talk a little bit. Just pop back in here over here for some reason. All right, yeah. Okay, DNF isn't here. I'm not crazy. Now, there was one more thing I wanted to do, which is, a couple more Flatpaks. So, I don't use... That's so funny. I shouldn't have gotten into the... Yes, Raisins, this will be a VOD. Don't worry. Cross-posted to YouTube. It's not even like... I don't even have to delay it anymore, because Twitch changed its terms of service. This can go right up. I'm not panicking, GoPro. I see what you're doing, and I appreciate it. Right. Flatpak. Search Vivaldi. Nope, not sudo. Just Flatpak. You install that. That way we can have our browser of choice. And what's cool about that is that I already have things like a pen test profile set up in Vivaldi from other machines. And so when I sync that in with Vivaldi Sync, you could do this with Firefox too if you wanted to, but I can load that in and then it's like automatically set for me with all of my extensions and themes and everything else that I would expect, right? Exactly the way that you want it. Very handy feature of browsers that I strongly recommend that you use. Oh, this is building. Cool. So we had everything we need. And then the last piece, this is going to be interesting. I am almost positive this won't work. Right, because I'm not in. I really got to keep that straight. Am I back to Twitch? I got a chance to do it tonight, and so I'm here. No promises. Okay, there we go. So now if I do DNF, do DNF install NMap. This will work maybe. But I don't know that NMap will work. Like it'll install, but if I do sudo NMap yeah, that happens. Right? That I can't actually run it because the container doesn't have permissions to do raw network stuff on the OS. So that's fine. What that means is that NMap has to be installed at the root level. And this is the thing that you have to get used to when you're using Atomic Linux, is that some stuff has to live outside. And then what's kind of interesting is then how does RustScan deal with that, right? Because RustScan is expecting to be able to use NMap. So how do you do that? You can either have RustScan run outside, which we have. right? Rust scan is available outside because we compiled Rust in the home folder, so that's available. Or you can do something like alias NMap in your container environment to run NMap outside of the container, which is also something you can do. With Distrobox host exec, right? So with Distrobox host exec, you can run stuff that's outside of the container inside it. It's a little bit funky, but that's one of those trade-offs. So knowing that we'll need NMap, I can do sudo rpm-ostree install NMap right now, because we know that we need this. Oh, sudo systemctl daemon reload. Interesting. NMap's already here. Ah, look at me. Okay, so with that, then, if NMap's already here, I have two options, right? I can run Rust scan. Now the problem is that I won't have sudo, I don't think, right? 300 and then SSA. We'll see how that goes. I'm just hammering my own website right now, which is actually GitHub pages, but it's fine. So I can either do that here, but now if I did something like Distrobox host exec, I can run other commands through it, right? Now, what I don't know if I can do is sudo SSA. Looks like yes. So what I could do then if I little s. So that works. So if I wanted to run everything from inside Distrobox, what I could do is I could alias NMap to exactly this, right? And I could set that as part of my fish config or whatever. That's not a problem. As you can see, Rust scan works okay here, and I can run it from inside. So just be aware of that little interesting gotcha I found with specifically NMap, but it's going to be true for anything that uses higher level networking stuff, or lower level networking stuff, I should say. But look, NMap worked successfully from inside. No problems there. And Rust scan is working okay. So the last thing I'm going to end with tonight, because I went a little bit over, but the last thing I'm going to end with tonight is how we would install Python stuff. Now, in our environment, in Distrobox, we may have Python 3. It's Python 3.12, which is kind of fine. And if you're good with that, that's cool. I don't have pip, which is kind of funny. And if I look for Python pip, I'm pretty sure that it won't be there. Watch it be there. I didn't find it before. Never mind, it's there. Okay. I think the point I'm trying to make still is worth making, though, which is that if you want more flexibility in your Python environment rather than the OS-based installation, PyEnv is a really great option. And so it's something that I've taken to installing by default. It allows you to install multiple different versions of Python at the same time and switch between them, and manage your dependencies a little bit more easily. But for now, I am going to do the basics that I would need to do Python-based stuff in my environment. So I do need to do dnf install Python 3 pip sudo that dnf install Python 3 pip. Fish, in theory, was going to do a thing where you could do bang bang to do the last command, but it doesn't. Relevant xkcd. Very nice. Yes. Precisely. And then once I have that installed, I would do pip install or pip3 install pipx. Right? And everything is as user. No sudo anywhere to be found here. And then from here, pipx install SQL map. Right? That's the kind of stuff that you would want. What else would we want from pip? Right? Things like, I don't know, netexec. The artist formerly known as crack map exec. I know it's not called crack map exec anymore, or it is. Crack map exec still exists, but then they got forked to netexec, right? Or is it? What is it? It's like, yeah, this is the maintained one. They're both getting updates, but one went like more closed source, I think is what the situation was. I don't remember exactly what it was. There it is. You got to do with the Git repo. Like so. So now if we do like that, you get netexec. So this was just a demonstration of like, these are the kinds of things you can do, obviously, with pipx to get the tools that you're looking for. So I'm well on my way to having the things that I would expect in my environment. Crack map exec's repos archived. Original creator said they were going closed source with it, but I'm 90% sure he's with AI stuff. Marcello did kind of have that turn, didn't he? Huge bummer for me personally. Okay, so we got netexec going. And then, of course, we can use Flatpak to install things. We already installed Vivaldi. It's there ready to go for us. I can configure that later. Yeah, there we go. I can configure that later. I can set up any forensics tools that I want. Oh, you know what else is a Flatpak that I found? This is just cool. And I was using it the other day. Jadix, the Android reversing tool, is a Flatpak. How handy is that? Anyway, let's see. We've got our shell set up. We've got our text editor set up. We've got Rust ready to go. We've got NMap ready to go. We've got C2 with Sliver ready to go. We've got Python tool set up ready to go. We have the basics of what we would need to start going after things like try hack me rooms. You should probably install OpenVPN to do that. But we're ready to go. And it took what? It took 2 hours. Doing this manually. I will probably put together a script that does this for you. Or what I really want to do eventually is release this as a bootable image. Oh, last piece I will mention. And this is the part that you should really take. I should have made this more clear. Once you have your Distrobox set up however you like, guess what you can do with it? You can, with Podman, it's just like any other container. You can commit it to a new image, okay? You can commit it to a new image. You can tar it up as a tarball, Or you can push it to a container repository, either the GitHub container or container registry. You can push it to the GitHub container registry. You could push it to Docker if you want Docker Hub. Push it anywhere you want. And now you have an image that you can pull to any other machine that uses Distrobox, and your hacking setup is ready to go right there. That was what got me so excited about doing things this way. So once I have this set up, I can push this anywhere I want and then have my setup ready to go at a moment's notice. Will it be heavy? Yeah, but it's one download and then I'm good, right? And then I don't have to worry about it from then on. All right. So I think that's going to do it for tonight. And it's been a blast being back with all of you. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that I did. And I know that I learned a lot, and I hope you did as well. I don't know when I'll be back, hopefully soon, but that's all up in the air. I'm still on dad duty primarily these days. But we've got a lot going on at TTI. A lot going on. Membership stuff, new projects coming on board, new courses coming on board. Please join us in the Discord. We'd love to see you there. We'd love for you to become a member so you get the advantages of being a member, like the live sessions every month. Hope to see you there. So, friends, please, until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy hacking. We'll see you next time.